What if the greatest power in the world was not the power to conquer, not the power to destroy, but the power to forgive? What if true leadership was not measured by how loudly you command, but by how deeply you inspire? Nelson Mandela's story is not just the story of a man, it is the story of a soul who chose peace over vengeance, unity over division, and hope over despair. Imagine this. You are imprisoned for nearly 3 decades. Your youth stolen, your family kept from you. Every day, the walls whisper bitterness, and yet, when the door finally opens, you step out not with anger, but with forgiveness. That is the legacy of Nelson Mandela, a man who showed us that forgiveness is not weakness, but the highest form of strength. And today, his lessons are more urgent than ever, because in a world full of conflict, resentment, and division, we need his wisdom to guide us back to the power of forgiveness and the courage of true leadership. Nelson Mandela, a name that carries the weight of history and the light of hope. Born in 1918 in a small village in South Africa, Mandela grew up witnessing the deep injustices of apartheid, a system that divided, oppressed, and silenced millions. Yet, from these early struggles, a remarkable resilience began to take shape. He became a lawyer, an activist, and eventually the symbol of a nation's fight for freedom. But Mandela's greatness was not defined by the battles he fought or the years he spent behind bars. It was defined by how he emerged from them, not with bitterness, not with revenge, but with forgiveness, compassion, and vision. He understood that leadership was not about power over others, but power over oneself. He taught that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. Mandela's life is a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the transformative power of forgiveness, and the enduring impact of leading with integrity. He showed the world that even in the darkest of prisons, the mind can remain free, the heart can remain open, and one person can inspire millions. Today, the world may look different than the South Africa Mandela once knew. Apartheid has fallen. Nations are more connected than ever before. And yet, the struggles he fought against still echo in our time. We see division. We see hatred. We see people locked in cycles of anger and revenge. From politics to social media, from families torn apart to communities divided, forgiveness often feels like the hardest choice to make. In our modern lives, conflict takes on many forms. It may not always be prison walls or oppressive laws, but it can be the invisible chains of resentment, the bitterness of betrayal, or the heavy silence between people who once loved each other. And leadership, true leadership, feels rarer than ever. We are surrounded by noise, by voices shouting for power, but very few willing to stand for unity, for healing, for peace. We live in an age where holding on to anger feels easier, where vengeance is celebrated and compassion is mistaken for weakness. But Mandela's story reminds us that without forgiveness, there is no future. The question is not whether we face problems today. We do. The question is, will we respond with bitterness or with the strength to forgive? Will we lead with division or with the courage to bring people together? Because just as Mandela once said, resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. Lesson 1. The power of forgiveness. Nelson Mandela teaches us a lesson that echoes through time. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is strength. It is the courage to rise above hatred, to break the chains of resentment, and to reclaim your own freedom. Imagine spending 27 years in a prison cell, every day filled with confinement, injustice, and anger. It would be easy, so very easy, to emerge bitter, vengeful, consumed by hate. But Mandela chose another path. He chose forgiveness. He understood that holding on to anger would not punish his oppressors, but would only imprison himself mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Forgiveness, he showed us, is not about forgetting what was done. It is not about excusing injustice. It is about freeing your own heart so that you can see clearly, act wisely, and create a future worth living. When he forgave, he was not naive. He was powerful. Forgiveness became his tool for change, his weapon for peace, his bridge to unite a nation torn apart by hatred. And in our own lives, We face battles every day. Small slights, deep betrayals, moments that hurt and wound. Forgiveness does not make these moments disappear, but it gives us the strength to rise above them, to lead with compassion, and to transform pain into wisdom. Mandela's life teaches us that forgiveness is not passive. It is active. It is a deliberate choice, a conscious act of courage, and the first step toward true leadership. Lesson 2. Leading with integrity and vision. Forgiveness was only the beginning. Nelson Mandela's leadership went far beyond personal courage. True leadership, he showed us, is not about wielding power. It is about inspiring others to rise above themselves. It is about guiding a nation toward justice, unity, and hope. Mandela led with integrity. Every decision he made was anchored in principle. He placed the good of the people above his own desires, the future of the nation above personal pride. He understood that a leader's power is measured not by fear, but by the trust and respect they earn. And vision, Mandela's vision was clear, unwavering, and profound. He saw South Africa free from apartheid, a nation healed from decades of division and oppression. He believed in a future where people of all races could live together in equality, and he dedicated his life to bringing that vision to reality. Imagine the courage it takes to step into a leadership role after being imprisoned for decades, to face a country fractured by hatred, and to extend your hand not in anger, but in reconciliation. That is the power of leading with integrity and vision. You act not for personal gain, but for a higher purpose. You inspire others to believe in possibilities beyond their present struggles. You turn pain and injustice into a roadmap for change. Mandela's example reminds us that leadership is not a title, it is a choice, a daily commitment to act with honesty, courage, and vision. And in doing so, you can transform not only yourself, but the world around you. Lesson 3. Resilience and patience. Resilience, patience, two qualities that define Nelson Mandela's journey, and two lessons the world desperately needs today. Mandela spent 27 years in prison, years of silence, years of uncertainty, years of watching his youth slip away behind bars. Most people would have been broken. Most would have surrendered to bitterness or despair. But Mandela did not. He chose endurance over anger. He chose to prepare his spirit so that when the day of freedom finally came, he would be ready to lead with wisdom instead of vengeance. This is resilience, the quiet strength to withstand storms without losing your purpose. It is not about avoiding pain, but about refusing to let pain define you. And patience? Mandela understood that real change cannot be rushed. A nation divided for centuries cannot be healed overnight. So he moved carefully, step by step, choosing dialogue over violence, choosing steady progress over reckless speed. In a world obsessed with instant results, his patience is revolutionary. It reminds us that great transformations, whether in nations, in communities, or in our own lives, require time, discipline, and trust in the process. Resilience and patience together create lasting change. One without the other is not enough. Resilience without patience can burn out. Patience without resilience can fade into passivity. But together, they form the foundation of true greatness. Mandela's life whispers to us, do not break when life is heavy. Do not rush when the journey is long. Stand firm. Wait with faith. And when the right moment comes, rise and lead. Nelson Mandela's story is not just history. It is a living flame, a reminder of what the human spirit can endure and what it can achieve. He showed us that forgiveness is stronger than revenge, that unity is greater than division, that resilience and patience can move mountains even when the world says change is impossible. Mandela's legacy is not only written in books, it lives in the countless people he inspired. It lives in every act of reconciliation, in every leader who chooses peace over conflict, in every heart that refuses to be hardened by pain. And perhaps most importantly, it can live in us. In the choices we make each day, do we hold on to anger or do we let it go? Do we give in to despair or do we stand firm with hope? Do we wait for others to lead or do we rise with courage ourselves? Mandela once said, I never lose. I either win or learn. That is the wisdom of a life fully lived. So as we close his story, Let us carry his light into our own lives. When challenges come, choose resilience. When hate surrounds you, choose forgiveness. When progress feels slow, choose patience. And when history looks back, may it say of us too, they chose love, they chose courage, and they kept Mandela's dream alive.